Look, I'm a DC loyalist. DC for life. Superman is my hero through and through. And like many, I was a Snyderverse type of guy, and I'm disappointed we'll never get to see Zack Snyder's vision come to life. However, I've just finished watching James Gunn's Superman, hoping for something fresh but faithful, powerful yet grounded. And now that I've seen it, I've got some thoughts, some love, some frustration. Let's break it down. Let's start positive. David Corenswet nailed Superman. He played him like a genuine Boy Scout, not a parody, not a joke, just a guy trying to do the right thing. And that felt true to the character. The emotional beats in this movie hit hard, especially the shift in focus from Superman's Kryptonian heritage to the Kents who raised him. It's a small change, but it gave the movie so much heart. The payoff in those later scenes with his parents, man, that felt real, like a family, not just cardboard exposition. The interview between Clark and Lois early in the film, my wife and I were cracking up because we saw ourselves having the same argument. That kind of realism, in a superhero movie, it's rare, and that made Lois feel more than just a love interest. She was a fully fleshed out human. I also got to give it to the kryptonite scene. Brutal. Superman's skin burned, and the effect lingered. That's how you do vulnerability. Kryptonite is his only weakness, so make it count, and they did. Supergirl's brief appearance? Amazing. 1 minute on screen and she stole the scene. Confident, tough, rebellious. Perfect contrast to Clark. I'm super hyped for her solo film, can't wait. Some of my absolute favourite moments in this film hit so hard emotionally, and they're not even action beats. First up, the interview between Lois and Clark. It's sharp, funny, and it's just so real. Lois isn't written like a typical annoying journalist stereotype. Her questions feel grounded, and Clark's answers feel sincere. It's some of the best chemistry I've seen in a Superman film. Then there's the scene where Clark is brought home injured. Man, this broke me a little. His parents don't act like, oh, he's Superman, he'll be fine. They respond like real parents, scared, overwhelmed, coddling, unsure, and it adds so much humanity. But the moment that sealed it for me was that final scene where Superman's sitting in his fortress of solitude, watching his human Earth parents. That's when it really hit. He's not living for some ghost of Jor-El or Krypton anymore. He's choosing the Kents, choosing Earth, and it felt honest, heartfelt, and deeply Superman. Oh, and the freeze breath to escape a black hole? Yeah, baby! Finally, using powers creatively. That's what I want more of. And last but not least, the audience experience itself. I haven't seen a full theatre laugh, clap, gasp and union like that in years. It felt great. Gunn's writing connected, and you could feel it in the room. Alright, deep breaths. Now let's talk about the stuff that frustrated the hell out of me. First off, Ultraman. This was bait and switch BS. Changing him into a clone? Nah. That's Bizarro territory, not Ultraman. Ultraman is not a clone. Never has been, but here, he's just a slightly evil Superman copy that acts more like Bizarro. You lured comic book fans in and flipped the script, and not in a good way. This was a huge letdown. The depth and lore behind Ultraman, gone. Wasted opportunity, gone. Secondly, Superman felt weak. I never once felt he was in control. There was no boss moment. I wanted an Apocalypse-style beatdown, you know? Like Superman vs. Darkseid and Batman Superman Apocalypse, where he threatens him to never come back here, or he's gonna lay the smack down. Instead, this Superman gets ragdolled. Was this Gunn trying to avoid Snyder's Superman as too powerful criticism? If so, it backfired a little, because this wasn't balanced, it was underpowered. There was also barely any scenes of Superman saving people. I'm sorry, but that's Superman 101. The multi-dimensional threat felt hollow because we didn't see the stakes. I wasn't invested. I wanted something comparable to the montage in Batman vs Superman when he's saving people, like the woman trapped on the roof during the flood. Where was that here? Or even the simple patrolling of the skies, like in 2006's Superman Returns. It was just missing that extra flair. The war subplot between the two countries, anticlimactic. A MacGuffin with no weight. It felt like a lazy excuse for a conflict. This might be how they would have written it for a comic book run. Maybe. But a weak MacGuffin nonetheless. The shadowy government boardroom scenes? Dull. Disconnected from the rest of the plot, didn't add depth, felt like a setup for Suicide Squad cameo, which, cool, but don't waste screen time. Ma and Pa Kent? Oh my gosh. I hated how they came across in their intro. Why make them look like uneducated hicks in their intro? These two made Superman who he is. You don't reduce them to comic relief, especially not after we've had their amazing portrayals in Smallville and the Snyder films. Give them the respect they deserve. And finally, visually, the super speed was meh to non-existent. And where was the iconic Superman fly through the sky scene? Every Superman movie has it. This one didn't. It's a missed opportunity. Pay homage, man. So, here are some things I'd change. The story focus. This needed an extra 20 minutes to explain who the Justice Gang is and what they do. The movie opened with an exposition dump. Helpful. But show, don't tell. Maybe next time, start on planet Earth. Tone down the interdimensional stuff until the audiences get it. Then you can build a detailed story around it. More people saving. Plain and simple. That's how you build stakes. That's how we connect with Superman's heart. Stop falling back on Kryptonian enemies to beat him up. We've done that. Give us smarter threats, not just more dark Superman reskins. The tone was upbeat, but sometimes felt naive. Writers avoided showing too much depth because they might break the logic of this cartoony world they've built. The CG is a bit off. Bright lighting makes realism harder, and you could feel it in some of the uncanny visuals. Nanobots choking Superman? Cool idea, but I didn't buy it. His cells are invulnerable. You can't just override Kryptonian biology with tech, at least not from the engineer. The movie was clearly setting up some other storylines such as Crisis on Infinite Earths, through the multiverse. They teased Rick Flag Sr., which hints at a Suicide Squad influence, and yes, the Hall of Justice looked great. Does that mean a proper Justice League? Can't wait to see where that goes. Now, let's talk about the characters. Lex felt accurate. Rich guy with a god complex who hates Superman. But we needed more why. Show us what made him like this. Lois, on the other hand, brilliantly written. Sharp, funny, real. Best written Lois since Margot Kidder in my opinion. Jimmy Olsen, he mostly worked, but the super hot girl was into him bit. It felt like a setup for a plot device so he could get the information from Eve later on. A bit lazy if you ask me. Mr. Terrific, low-key the MVP. Just wish they'd shown how smart he really is. Hope we get more of him in future. And then finally, Ultraman and the Engineer. Ultraman was wasted. Just another Kryptonian-based enemy again. Seen it before. And the Engineer? Just another metamorpho Green Lantern clone with saw blades. Powers that should realistically never hurt Superman. But he still got wrecked. You know, something that really stood out, and it's important to acknowledge, is the message Clark gets from his Kryptonian parents. In this film, it's not pure hopeful, you will inspire humanity. It's more of a cold, pragmatic directive. Lead them because they're weak, and they'll destroy themselves like we did. It's not evil, but it's definitely not hopeful either. And this isn't new. We've seen this version of Jor-El and Lara before, in Smallville, and now here again. It's a contrast to the more noble, idealistic Jor-El from the Donner's 1978 Superman and the 2006 Superman Returns, or even Man of Steel, where Kal-El is a gift, a symbol of hope. This dominant Krypton messaging, it's not unheard of, but it shifts the tone. It says maybe Krypton wasn't just a tragedy, maybe it was arrogant, maybe it wanted a second chance through Clark. It's an interesting layer, but one that needs to be recognised. That it isn't the first time Jor-El's message came with an agenda. So, after all of that, is it worth watching? Yeah. Even with its flaws, this movie feels like someone ripped a story from a comic book and put it straight onto the big screen and said, roll with it. It's messy, it's heartfelt, it's not Snyder, but it's not trying to be. If you're open to something new, something fun, and something sincere, Superman 2025 is just for you. Bring someone you love. This might be the first superhero movie they actually enjoy. and despite its flaws, I enjoyed it, and I feel like those in the theatres did too. Final score? I'd personally say an 8 out of 10, because the emotions got me, but realistically it's probably sitting around a 7.5. Mix this with Snyder's tone, and you'd have a near perfect Superman, I think. Thanks again for listening. Have a great rest of your day.